Our 2020 Kia Soul EX needs an interior clean. Stay tuned. Welcome back and/or to the channel. Today we are doing an interior clean on our Kia Soul EX. It is time. We've now driven the vehicle pretty much all winter long. We're getting into late spring, almost early summer, and our floorboards are pretty nasty. We need to wash out our WeatherTech floor liners, and we're going to do a wipe down of our interior. Just kind of a basic interior clean. This is something you can do very quickly. It doesn't have to take very long, and it really does help preserve the life of the interior of your vehicle. If you let this stuff get matted into the carpet, chances are you're never going to get that carpet clean again. The two-wheel drive tank, which is sitting pretty much right behind you, is a prime example of that. The carpet in there is just destroyed. There's spots that it's so hard and crusted down from salt and sand and everything else that you find on road debris that it'll just never come clean. There's points that I can take a screwdriver and scratch the carpeting just to try to break up some of the buildup in it, and it's pretty bad. There's about 3 spots that are getting kind of iffy, but I'm not going to bother fixing it because it's the two-wheel drive tank. We all know how much longer that thing has. Probably not long. There will be some videos coming up on that will help us kind of get to the bottom of what's going on with it. But today's video is this interior clean, and it's pretty basic. All we're going to do is take our floor mats out, run our vacuum through, and wipe down all of our panels. Now, when we bought this vehicle, we had a protection put onto the interior. So this makes cleaning up the interior really easy. All we need is a microfiber rag, and we're going to wipe down all of our plastics and our dash. Once that's done, we can vacuum, wash our floor mats, let those dry before we put them back in. So what we're going to do is kind of shift some things around here, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, the first step in your interior clean is make sure you get everything out of the vehicle. If you leave Kleenex boxes in, make sure you take all this stuff out. You don't want anything in here that could either get sucked up by the vacuum or potentially get in your way while you're cleaning. Because the whole purpose is to make sure you get this as clean as possible, because you don't know the next time you're going to get around to vacuuming it. So take the time to just get to it now. And one thing you may have to do is, if you have your vehicle set back against your garage door, you may have to bring your vehicle forward so you can open up the back. This one I will have to do that, but I want to get everything out first. Okay. So once you've cleaned out your main compartment where you sit, you can then work on the back, kind of clean all that out. The key that you're really going to go after here is to wipe down your plastics before you vacuum. That way anything that you knock down from the plastics will land on the carpeting, and then you can vacuum that stuff up. Some people eat in their cars, so they'll have food debris in the center console. When you do this, you could sweep all that stuff down on the floor, and you don't have to be concerned about it. If you vacuum first, then you're going to have to go back and clean that up. So you're just doing a whole lot of work that you don't need to do. So the main goal here is to wait to pull your floor liners, wait to pull everything as far as floor coverings until you're done wiping down your interior, because you might knock it down into your WeatherTechs. That'll catch some of it, and you can dump that stuff out. So next we're going to set up, and I'll show you kind of the interior, how I do this. And it's really basic, very simple. There isn't a whole lot to really elaborate on here, but let me get you into position. Okay, for this process, I will use a microfiber that's pretty much a C or D microfiber because it really doesn't matter. All you're doing is wiping up dust, debris, and food stuff. So any microfiber that's still in decent shape will do this very well. And what I do is I make sure I wipe everything, including the gauge cluster. And this also helps to remove all the dust. Now, if you come across a spot, like there's a spot here on our center console that has a little bit of marking on it, there I could use a wipe to really kind of clean that up and to make sure that I get it clean. But the main part here is just to wipe off this stuff. And obviously you want to get the door panels. If you wipe something that has anything in it that it sticks to the microfiber, make sure you kind of clean that off a little bit before you continue wiping, because a lot of your stuff could be leather or plastic and you don't want to wreck that. So if you get something into the microfiber, take the time to pick it out before you keep wiping everything down. And like I said, the goal is just to make sure you get all your plastics wiped. I'm just trying to knock any of that dust and stuff down. A few videos ago, I did a clock reset and I did how to turn off your auto start stop. And those were pretty good videos to make because there's a lot of frustration with those systems. I know I don't care for them very much, so I try to shut them off in any vehicle that I'm driving. And some vehicles have gotten really tricky. They don't exactly tell you how to get rid of that auto start stop. And sometimes they don't give you a feature to do it. So when you're wiping your screen here, a lot of vehicles now have this large touch screen. Make sure you're using a very clean part of your microfiber so you don't scratch the screen. And your goal is just to lightly wipe it. Don't really press down because you can actually damage that screen in the process. Just lightly wipe it and it'll take all the fingerprints off of it, kind of clean it up. That way you don't have any weird issues. I know some touch screens are extremely sensitive to where if they get too many fingerprints on it, they don't work properly. So keeping that screen kind of cleaned up is pretty important. One area that gets really dirty on every Kia Soul is your center console, because anything like if you're eating or something like that, it'll all drop down in your lap area. Well, this sits at your lap area, so you'll get dirt down inside your shifter boot here. You'll get stuff down inside the cup holders and down in the shifter. And if you're driving the vehicle so that you're not using the auto start stop, the one thing that is used a lot is the is the sport mode. Now the sport mode button right here, obviously you get a lot of dirt and stuff from here. One thing I'm doing is just taking out the cup holders and just kind of wiping them off, getting all the debris, like I said, food that falls down, winds up going down in there. Now, I'm not going to put this back in until after I've vacuumed, because when you go to lift that out, you obviously drop some down in there. And all I'm trying to do is just get some of the big debris off. So fairly clean compared to what it was. There was quite a bit of buildup on it. What I do is I usually set it up here into this cubby because I don't vacuum up into here all the time. I will do it every once in a while, but not all the time because it's just not needed. Okay, so now that I've gotten this part of it all wiped down, the only thing I've got left is that door panel and then the back. And that stuff is fairly simple. This is where it takes the most time because you're dealing with the dash components, all the areas that you got to watch out for, the controls, so that takes a little bit longer. Door panels are pretty simple. They're just quick wipe. As long as you've got a protection on them, they clean up really quickly. Not a whole lot of time needed. Just a light wipe like that. Obviously get around the corners of your dash and then get up your pillars. This would be your pillar here. And then the side of your seat controls. That'll help clean that up. Usually in the back you don't have a whole lot you have to do. Obviously you have another door panel. You may have some plastic panels down here and maybe a little bit up here by your window pillar, but that's about it. This one here doesn't take very long to just do these. Now, if you don't have any protection on, you may have to use the wipes. I choose to use Meguiar's interior wipes. I've used them for years. I trust their quality, and I have had very good luck with them. And when this vehicle does need a reapply of an interior protection, I probably will go with the Meguiar's at that point. If you have a hard back on your seat, make sure you wipe the back of the seat. Try to wipe down into the pouch. Most of the time we don't put anything in those backs, so we don't really have to worry about it. We just wipe the back of the seat in case something falls against it or if there's something that we haul that is dirty. So now, once we've got the interior cleaned out, we're going to go ahead and remove our WeatherTechs. Now, if they're really bad, we're going to wash them. If they're not really bad, we're just going to wipe them off with a protectant, the Meguiar's wipes that I just talked about. So next, we're going to pull these WeatherTechs. All right, so to remove the WeatherTechs, all you got to do is get underneath the corner, lift them up, and you're trying not to spill everything that's in them. So this part is a little bit more tricky. Okay, so I was able to pull it up and onto the back seat to get it out. Now there is a lot of debris inside here. So one trick I like to do right away is to stand it up and kind of brush all the stuff off of it. Now this is only if you have a light amount. If you've got a lot, then you're washing it. And you'll see that when we get to the fronts. The fronts are really bad. So this is good enough for me to use my wipes on it. So I'm not trying to really shine these up. All I want to do is get them clean. So I'm going to use the matte Meguiar's wipes finish. And I've used these on multiple different interior projects that I've done on the channel. I use it on all of my vehicles. They just work so much better. I've tried other wipes and not had as much success. And the reason I like the matte ones is because it doesn't add any slime to them or doesn't make them slippery. Where if you use the satin or the high shine, it will make them slippery. So, like I said, these are not that bad. These cleaned up with just one, and I actually have a little bit left on this one to where I can feel that it's still wet. So, if you have spots, that you have dirt, like here, you can come in here, and I wouldn't suggest just doing that one spot. Go ahead and hit the whole armrest. And that will clean that up. Again, if you have any other spots that other than that, we're ready to tackle our worst floor mats, which are our fronts. Now the fronts are pretty easy. They have a hook in them. So here is that hook. The trick is lifting it up out of that hook. So what I normally do is I get behind it, lift up the front of it, and then try to get my hand underneath and press up. And I didn't have to get my hand very far underneath, and it just popped it up. When taking these out, make sure you do not tip them in the interior because it's a lot to clean up. WeatherTech saved us. We still have some vacuuming to do, but it's really not that bad compared to what a lot of interior cleaning projects have been for me. I have had quite a bit of problem cleaning some interiors just because of how bad they got. This one here is the reason we're washing them. There's a lot of gravel and dirt in this floor mat. Again, put your hand underneath. Pop that up. Now this one has two of them, so you do have to be careful. There's one here and one back there. And that will happen. If that does, just take the time to kind of sweep it all back onto here. You are going to vacuum it, so don't get too upset if it does make a little bit of a mess. At this point, it's all dry, and I fold it a little bit in half to squeak it out of here, just so I don't get a mess in the interior. Okay, next would be vacuuming. I'm just gonna zip through this vacuuming part. I'm not really gonna talk about a whole lot. I've done other vacuum videos. I don't like to leave the sound up because my vacuum is extremely noisy. It is a Shop-vac. It does pull quite a bit of noise. So I'm just gonna go at this interior, kind of do it as a fast forward thing, and you'll be able to see everything I do. It'll be in real time, but it'll be kind of double speed. So let me get set up and we're gonna get this interior vacuumed. Okay, one last thing before I hit start on my vacuum. I'm going to be using two attachments. This one here to pick up any of the flat surfaces. This one here to clean underneath my seats. Okay, the last part of this is just going to be washing the WeatherTechs. If I get a chance, I'm going to set you up when I'm going to wash them. I'll show you how I do it. It's pretty basic. All I do is tip them up on a plastic garbage can that I have that sits outside, and I just rinse them down. Or otherwise, I hold them by the garden hose, pinch off part of the hose with my thumb, and just use the pressure to spray it down rather than trying to lay it flat. Because if you lay it flat, it just builds up inside there, and it doesn't really get clean. So if I get a chance, I'll show that process. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and finish what I got to do here on the interior, and then I'm ready to wash those floor mats. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, this outdoor filming stuff is a little bit more difficult. So what we're going to do is I have this hose with a coupler on it, pretty basic. All I'm going to do is put it to like a spray, put my floor liners up, and just wash them down. Something just like that, wash off really quick. Doesn't take very long at all. Now, there is a little protection missing. We're going to get to how to put that back on as soon as these dry. Okay, now if they're really dirty, quick way to do this without having to use a whole lot of soap or anything is just when they're wet, take your hand, just rub them. What this will do is break up all the dirt, and then you can just rinse it off. Okay, I'm going to get switched back into the garage. I'll be right back with you. Okay, I will admit, filming outdoors is a lot more tricky, requires a lot more attention. So, what we have here are two washed WeatherTech floor liners. Now, these are not perfectly clean and ready to go back in. One thing we're going to want to do is wipe off all the water. The next, we want to provide some kind of protection. And there is a way to do this without making these feel slimy. Again, it is our Meguiar's wipes. They come to the rescue and finish cleaning up these WeatherTechs that we didn't get. The washing was just to get rid of big debris. And that's the only time you really need to wash these, is when they get really built up. And sometimes they will if you live in a climate where you get really rough winters. You will have to clean them up and wash them up. It just takes a little time. It's not really that big of a deal. You just got to be willing to dedicate the time to do it. So what we're going to do is move around here. I want to get these dried and get that protection on them. And then we can get these installed. Now for this, I'm just going to use a very degraded microfiber, because all I'm doing is trying to get the water up and remove some of the dirt that was not removed from pressure washing. And if you use a really good microfiber in this process, all you're going to do is downgrade that microfiber after you're done, because you're wiping up so much dirt that it gets into the fibers. If I get a chance, I'm going to link a video in the description down below, or the tag up above. I washed some microfibers, and I showed the importance of why you had to wash them a certain way. And by not taking care of your microfibers, all you're doing is pretty much throwing money away, because you're wrecking the microfibers when you don't wash them properly. Like I said, this one is a little bit more dirty. This was the driver's side, so this takes a little bit longer. You got to get into every groove, every little nook. Wipe it really good. One thing that most people miss is they forget to wipe down the backs. Make sure you get the back of your WeatherTechs, because otherwise you're going to drop it in and you've already vacuumed up your floorboards, cleaned all that up, and now it's going to be dirty because you didn't wipe off the back of your WeatherTechs. And this, I don't need to put any protection on. That does pretty good by itself. It's in here that you need that protection. Like I said, this, all you're doing is just getting a layer of protection down. This stuff will help keep it clean and make it easier to clean next time. And because this is the matte finish, we're not going to get the slime or the slippery feeling that we would have gotten with the satin or the high gloss. I know Husky makes floor liners. Their floor liners are pretty similar. I've had them in other vehicles. So the cleanup process is pretty much the same thing. If they're really, really dirty, wash them out and then add the protection back after you've washed them. Like I said, if you get into a situation where you're always in dirt or mud, sometimes you won't take the time to add the protection, but these are a nice accessory to have. They are not usually very cheap. They can run up to $300 for a full set. Sometimes just two of them will run you about $100, but the protection that they provide and the ease of cleaning up your interior makes them well worth having. Okay, so this one's had the protection put on it, pretty basic. All it does is just kind of work its way into the plastic, bites in a little bit, and next time you go to wash these, it just slides right out. So now that they're all clean, all we're going to do is slide them in, and you've got this little tab up here. So with the tab, pull it back and then press this corner down and it'll pop in. The hook is on, the opening for the hook is on this side. So you have to pull it back, press it down for it to pop into place. And you'll see it more on the driver's side when we do the driver's side ones. So for the back here, this one's pretty simple. This liner just slides in, drops down. So now that whole floorboard is protected. We can put whatever we want back there and not have to worry about dirt and debris. Our front is protected. Now I am noticing a little bit of light dirt coming through, and it's the marking from the WeatherTechs of keeping them clean. Okay, driver's side's pretty basic. You slide it down into place. Remember to keep it back so that you can press it into the tabs. So there's my tabs. All I do is press down on the back side of my WeatherTech and press it in, and these pop in and clip onto it. And that's all it is. That's all that holds that in there. It's just those two tabs. And that keeps it from sliding around. Pretty simple setup there. But I'd like to say thank you for watching. I know this is kind of a simple video. We did a couple of interior cleans. We did one on the Silver Swine. I don't know if I've ever done one on the two-wheel drive tank. If I get a chance, I'll probably link the Silver Swine in the description down below or the tag up above. And as keeping your interior clean, it also helps keep the value of the vehicle. If you never clean the interior and everything gets matted, all the plastic starts deteriorating and falls apart, everything gets shoved down into the AC vents, the value of the vehicle is going to degrade dramatically. And if you ever try to trade a vehicle off, you're going to get less for it if you don't have it already cleaned up. One trick that a lot of automotive people do is they'll do a full detail on their car before they take it to the dealer so that they don't get dinged for little things, such as small little nicks or marks in them. If the interior is dirty and there's a bunch of stuff everywhere, that tends to hurt you when you do a trade-in, because they're looking in their mind, what do I have to do so I can make maximum dollar on this thing? And the more they have to do, the more they're going to ding you for it when you go to trade it in. Where if you take that away from them, you can say, hey, it's already clean. It's perfect vehicle. There's nothing wrong with it. Then they can't hit you with anything and go, well, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And that's a little trick in the automotive industry. I hope it helps. But I'd like to say thank you for watching. Please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and see you on the next one.